Hello and welcome to News by Standards. On the 27th of February, Carl Sprogus and his wife Jill spent most of the night anxiously monitoring flood height data from Australia's Bureau of Meteorology. Their town Lismore was caught in the catastrophic floods that submerged southern Queensland and northern New South Wales in February and March. Those floods have become the most costly in the nation's history, according to the Insurance Council of Australia. The latest flooding to hit Australia came at the weekend when Sydney was hit with torrential rain. Thousands were told to evacuate their homes and roads were cut by deep water. Back in February, perched on a hill, the Sprogus family home was safe, but the couple were worried about their downtown physiotherapy business. It was purposely located on the second floor, but even that was not enough. From the water height charts, they could tell the office was going to be inundated, but it was too late to save anything. The authorities had already issued an evacuation order. "We could have put things up higher at that time had we known it, but we didn't," said Mr. Sprogus, who had been at his practice the night before. "I even left my new laptop on the office desk, thinking, well, the water's never been in here before, so it won't come on in." By the following day, his practice was 1.8 metres underwater, files, records and equipment all damaged or lost. Meanwhile, in New South Wales, in Gibberaggi, children's book author Candy Lawrence watched as 2,000 copies of her books were sucked into the deluge. Miss Lawrence had been carefully watching government floods, warnings and gathering supplies, anticipating that nearby roads would be cut off as often happened when the area flooded. But like Mr. Sprogus, she was not expecting waters to sweep through her property and that of her neighbours, some of whom had to scramble onto their roof to escape the fast rising floodwaters. "I feel like the world is pretty much ending, so why bothering educating children?" she says, referencing her destroyed book collection and the terrifying new weather patterns. Like thousands of others caught in the disaster, Mr. Sprogus and Miss Lawrence would have liked more warning, so why wasn't there a better system which could alert them in real time if their properties were in danger? Gilla Murphy, a water resources engineer specialising in hydrology and flooding, asked this after watching her friend's house in Brisbane flood over the roof peak in 2011. The question came up again as she moved to Calgary, Canada, and witnessed a similar devastating flood in 2013. Ms. Murphy knew that during the Brisbane and Calgary floods, hydrology forecasts had predicted where rivers would peak at certain bridges, but she realised it wasn't enough. If you aren't a hydraulic engineer who is able to translate that flood height into an impact to properties, your personal property, your car, it can be very challenging, she says. Ms. Murphy also notes that static flood maps, including those that chart 1 in 100 year floods, are also expensive and can take days or weeks to produce. This makes them more suited to development planning and infrastructure design applications rather than emergency planning and management. "I was thinking there has to be something more." She began dedicating her evenings and weekends to looking for a solution, which eventually led her to co-found Flood Map with web developer Ryan Plosser. With a significant research and development investment, Flood Map was launched in 2018. Flood Map's technology can rapidly forecast water levels to map floods before they happen. It does this by ingesting huge amounts of historical data, including things like rainfall and ground saturation levels, and uses artificial intelligence to accurately model the way water will behave. The software also uses information about land features and river systems to work out how a flood will affect different areas. The company claims its models can run 100,000 times faster than traditional techniques. An additional benefit is that the resulting models can refresh hourly using real-time rival sensor data and rainfall forecasts. The technology is not available to individuals. Instead, it is being integrated into services offered by government agencies in Australia and the US to better understand floods before, during and after they happen. Researchers at the University of Melbourne's Department of Infrastructure Engineering are taking a similar approach, understanding that speed is key for emergency planning. Like Ms. Murphy, flood modeler turned researcher Dr. Wayne Wu is looking at ways to simulate flood levels over time at speed using machine learning techniques. Importantly, this is being done by Dr. Wu says without compromising accuracy and without costing the earth. The availability of accurate real-time data that can be interpreted at a property-specific level is a huge part of the challenge, but being able to disseminate meaningful data to the public is also key. As Dr. Wu says, if people's collective comprehension of flood risk doesn't improve, you will not actually improve the situation. Even the concept of a 1 in 100 year flood is widely misunderstood. It means a flood event has a 1 in 100 chance of happening in any given year, as opposed to there only being one major flood every 100 years. That's where companies like the Australian-based Early Warning Network come in. EWN sends opt-in SMS, text messages, email, landline and app push alerts to residents and businesses in at-risk areas, typically via insurers, councils and other government agencies who signed up to their services. Flood alerts are primarily based on data collected and distributed by Australia's Bureau of Meteorology. However, Operation Manager Michael Barth explains EWN has a 24/7 team of human severe weather forecasters, all of whom have an understanding of threats from their experience as storm chasers. This team assess the warnings, eliminate duplication, and send geo-targeted alerts using custom-made software. This ensures people receive clear and localized information. If you've ever had automated warnings from weather agencies before, you'll know they can be very repetitive, says Mr. Barth. If you automatically send that to residents, they just get really annoyed with it and tune out. Ms. Barth, Dr. Wu, and Ms. Murphy all agree that ultimately governments need to adopt these systems and technologies and make planning decisions about whether future development should be permitted on floodplains and whether buyback schemes are warranted in high-risk areas. However, in many cases, moving entire communities or renovating properties at scale using flood-resistant materials is not practical in the immediate future. Given these measures require significant funding and political will, we need something today, right now, because we are living on floodplains, and emergency planning and warnings and alerts fill a critical role to improve safety, save lives and prevent damage, says Ms. Murphy. We have to work together to build a safer future.